think I look like Mulan?
Because I'm just hearing...
So you're saying I look like Mulan?
So, I just want to preface this.
Well, I went up there and my aunt just said I looked like a girl, so I guess you're not too far from the tree.
Anyways, I guess I'm just still... I'm still pretty peeved off from the other day. Because of you.
Which day?
Like, I think it was yesterday. Because you sent this frog. You sent me this picture of this frog, and I don't even know. I don't know what this frog is, and then...
It's a frog. I've explained this several times. It's a picture of a frog. I don't see what the big deal is.
You keep saying that it's a frog. What is it? What is it? What is the frog?
I literally told you what it was. It's a frog.
Yes, what is it? Why it's wearing like pants or like it's wearing some, it has like a backpack on.
What's so wrong with that? What's so wrong about that?
I don't care. It's a
frog
little
with
weird.
Clothes on.
It's a little weird, but I just want to know what is it? Like what?
It's just a frog with clothes on.
Does it have a name? What's its name? Who is he? Who is the frog? It's not a he. He? It's not a he. So it is something. It is a there. You really
frog.
Made me unhappy yesterday. I think I was just hanging out and you just sent me this picture.
A picture of a frog and you get indiscriminately angry at me.
I didn't get indiscriminately angry at you. What I did was ask you, "Oh, what's this?" And then you said it's a frog, and I laughed it off. And I said, "Okay, yeah. What is this?
Did I lie?
Frog wearing
it's a
suspenders
frog.
Or something?" And then you kept saying it's a frog. I know. What is it? What is it?
Yes, it's a frog wearing suspenders and it has a skirt on.
There's no way it's just a frog in suspenders. It
also has a skirt. You thought it was a fanny pack. It's a skirt.
It's what is it then? What is it? You don't just get a frog. You don't just have a frog. A frog just doesn't wear a skirt naturally. What is this? Like, I don't understand. This has to be from something.
You can take a guess.
I can take a guess? Is it... I mean...
It's a frog.
My first guess was it's some sort of, like, Final Fantasy character or something.
It is a Final Fantasy frog.
Why didn't you just tell me that? Why didn't you tell me that at first?
I said it was a Final Fantasy frog.
What do you mean? You did not.
I did.
I am so... you're bringing me back there. I am mad now. This is not a good way to start any sort of podcast.
Let's just rotate the conversation to something else then.
That would be really convenient for you, huh?
Frog. No, it's a Final Fantasy frog. I don't want you to be angry for this. I don't want to angry.
What does it mean? What does it mean?
It doesn't mean anything.
Why did you send it to me?
Final Fantasy. Because I thought it looked funny.
Jesus Christ. You know how... I didn't even sleep much last night because of this frog.
I mean, you never sleep much anyway.
Yeah, but I wanted to this time. I kept thinking about this frog. I don't even like talking about it. Can you at least tell me its name? I hate calling it the frog. Like, that's so...
Why?
What is it? What is it? What's it?
It's a frog.
Who is it?
It's Tifa.
Oh. Tifa. You...
I literally said it was Tifa, and you actively ignored me.
You did not say it. You said it was a frog.
I did. I said it was Tifa the frog from Final Fantasy VII, and you ignored me.
You said it was a frog about 15 times before I even got...
I said it's Tifa from Final Fantasy. You were in my mind.
I'm just sad at this point.
You were angry for no reason. I sent a picture because I thought it looked funny, and you got angry.
I'm depressed over a frog.
I even told you it was Tifa.
I'm depressed over a cartoon frog.
Do you know how embarrassing it is to admit That's a frog based off a Final Fantasy character?
Then why did you send it to me? Why did you send it to me if you don't want to admit it?
I thought the image looked funny. I didn't think you'd make such a big deal over who it was.
You know what sucks the most about it, Bear? It looks really funny. I fucking love the image. It's a great image. I know it
does.
It's a great image.
I don't know why you're so hung up on it.
I just...
Don't take my shtick. I'm the crier here.
You think this is a choice?
Jesus Christ. Let's just get to the story, man.
You really think I can move on?
I really hate how a frog tore us apart.
Fine, whatever. I never want to bring this up again. Don't start crying. This happens every episode, man. You really gotta get over this. Come on. You're 21.
You start crying and I just...
You're 21. This is something so inconsequential. This doesn't even affect you.
Let's just get to the story, man.
You know, you hurt me, and now you're crying.
Let's just get to the story, dude.
Okay, fine.
I don't want to... Let's just never talk about this frog ever again.
Listen,
I sent a funny picture. Let's just remember the best parts about it.
The only...
Now you know what the picture is. Now you can look at it with a happy smile on your face.
That will never happen again.
Well, I will send it again in order to force a smile out of you.
I will be so unhappy if you do that. I really don't want you to do that. Please do not send me that frog image again. Kevin? Kevin?
Call me Tifa.
Let's move on. I guess I want to talk a little bit about the past. Because we cover a lot of stuff. Because we cover a lot of stuff. I think there's something...
We're going back.
Something that's been weighing hard on me. And I think it's been weighing a little bit hard on you. I would say with certainty it's one of the few black spots in my mind. It's a time in our lives that I think, by all accounts, everyone involved was wrong in some way. Even those...
Except for one.
No, I'm afraid not.
We can argue that later.
Even those in the right were still wrong because they were associated with those who were wrong. And they were friends with those people. And everyone is entangled in this web of...
Web of guilt, would you say? Web of regret?
It's a web of guilt, but at the time, it's a web of destruction and a web of chaos.
And it all spawns from one person.
That person being Kai Harvey. Now, Kai Harvey is a great friend of ours.
An old friend, too.
I mean, I would say that Kai is one of the best people of us. If I'm talking about the purity of our friends... I'd say you and I are pretty darn near low on that list.
We're corrupted, yes.
We've corrupted ourselves.
And I would agree, Kai is one of the most pure.
There is nothing overtly wrong with Kai.
He just has a few tendencies.
I look forward to seeing all of our friends whenever I can. But Kai is someone who
Do you revere Kai?
Yeah, I revere and I hold in high regard that Kai has something special. Kai's not a normal person. Most of our friends have like issues where, you can make fun of them. Oh, Dustin, he's short. He's a little chaotic rat that's trying to eat at all my stuff and destroy my house. He obviously has some great characteristics too, but I'm just saying, Eli, for example.
Why don't you name some of Dustin's great characteristics? You seem to be jovial about. Dustin's
fun. He likes to, because of the chaos that he brings to a situation and can make anything into a game. That game can also become, oh God, all of my stuff is destroyed now. Kai doesn't have any of these overt tendencies.
I will say I've had an issue with Kai. And Kai knows I've had an issue with him.
Really, do you want to talk about
But
that?
at the time, I was having fun with him. I even created my own disco zoo.
I guess, this is all preamble for a much
more horrid story. Horrid, I would say.
Kai was put in a light. As these stories often do, they put someone in a light. And Kai was put in a light on this day.
And in turn, putting himself in a light, he put us all in a light.
And we put each other in a light. What I'm trying to say is that in light of this negative light, we're not trying to create a really positive image of Kai in order to preserve his morality in some way. We're really stating the facts. This is really what we think of Kai. What was happening in April of 2017 was we, as a group of seniors in high school, suddenly were allowed a lot more freedom than we previously had, especially in terms of what we could do during our free time at school, what we could do during lunch. And we at first didn't really have any idea what to do with it. Because if you try and do the normal things that you would do during, say, 50-minute lunch, during a 3-hour lunch, you're going to run out of things to do real quick. You're going to finish lunch and then you're going to be stuck playing cards or something for hours. And that, that can be fun, but it can also be pretty draining time after time. So
what I proposed that particular day was because at the local university where my mother works, she was able to get us some free guest passes, I guess, into the good cafeteria. Calling it a cafeteria makes it seem bad, doesn't it?
Putting it as a cafeteria is putting it lightly. This place is heaven. Because,
yes.
As a kid, this is everything that you want. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet once you enter in. And it has nearly every type of cuisine that you could imagine unified together into one building, separated out into different storefronts. So there's a little Italian kitchen, a little Turkish kitchen. So you can get pasta, you can get confit de canard, you can get your heart's desire, especially when it comes to the dessert section.
The desserts are amazing.
Which has an entire little bakery and, of course, ice cream. And you think, I can get whatever I want. I can have 5 slices of pizza and get 2 cones of ice cream. And it's like, I can just keep getting ice cream.
And I think we have to know it was $7. It wasn't expensive by any means for good quality food. And you get a big amount.
Because of the way that these storefronts are set up, they're practically legitimate restaurants in their own. Because of this, the quality is just so much nicer than what we were used to. So when Bear suggested that we start going to this place for our extra long lunches, all of us were completely on board, knowing the amount of variety, the quality of the food, plus the fun freedom of getting to drive somewhere.
Or having a fun hangout,
Yeah, everything coincided so nicely. Let's go eat at what was called the C for C.
Yeah, so, yeah. You go ahead.
We'd done this maybe 2 or 3 times before the incident. On this penultimate time.
One more time, yes.
We brought Kai with us for the first time. Kai had a little bit of a different schedule. But luckily, there was a couple times within the week.
I think on that particular day, it was for us. It was just another day. Just we had Kai now.
We all got in the car to drive to the C for C with 3 hours of completely worry-free time. These days that when we could make this happen, where everybody could go together, it was like
it was a day everybody looked forward to.
It's an adventure. Something would happen at every step along the way.
With the group of people that we have, something is bound to happen.
Yeah, you get carpool karaoke. You get messing around inside the cafeteria. It's usually busy around the time that we...
Yeah, it was very busy, so it was pretty hard pressed to find a seat especially because we went around noon.
The best tactic is divide and conquer. We find anywhere there can be a round table or a square table or a booth that can fit everybody, or maybe two tables close enough together where it seems like we're all in one. I think we found the latter of the situations where we had like two tables that were right next to each other.
Yeah, we had a good booth area, two tables put together. So it was like two chairs on the outside. We had a chair on one end of the table, and then we had booth seats too. So we could have sat like 6 or 7 there, and we had a nice view outdoors of the mountains. So like it seemed that everything was going swimmingly by then.
Yeah, and I think you might think we're spending a little bit too much time describing the table setting, but
it honestly just adds on to how perfect that day was.
It does relate greatly to the aftermath of the situation. Sorry, I'm just saying this with a heavy heart. In these situations with so many people eating lunch together in a buffet styles venue, you're going to have a lot of getting up, sitting down, back and forth, because everybody eats at a different speed and everybody wants something different. There's always going to be maybe at least one person just finishing their food and is about to get out of their chair.
Yeah, what we had was like a 2-3 combination. So it'd be 2 people sitting down, 3 people getting food, then 3 people sitting down, 2 people getting food. We would always alternate between them. So it was like we'd always keep our seat, and then there'd be enough people to keep each other entertained.
Right. So it's really tactical because seating is valuable in this situation. It's the prized real estate.
You don't want a 4-1 going on with 5. It would have been ideal with 6, but
we bring this up because this is an important aspect of how this story can be told, because everybody is getting up and sitting down and having a little bit of a different interaction with each other. Bear might be sitting down with 2 others having a great time, whereas I'm in line with Eli doing our own thing. Then coming together, we're sort of having to play this little rotation game of catch up in a way. The reason why it's important to mention that is because each of us will have a slightly different perspective on this story, because each of us took slightly different actions, and each of us were in slightly different locations when it happened, when everything went down. And everything did go down.
It went down hard. There's 2 notes that I have to make. The first one is that I tend to get a little chaotic with a larger group of friends. I like to think of more eccentric ideas that we can do. And so one of the things, and I don't think this is a good trait, is that I like to force people to eat or drink things for money.
You're putting this in the lens of something extremely intellectual and profound that you sort of planned out. Really what it is in the moment you like to see people suffer, and you like to prank people.
Yes, I like to do that, but this wasn't a prank.
You like to mess with people.
Yes. Point number 2 is that Kai is what I like to call, Kai is a picker. Kai always has little grubby hands. He's always grabbing at something or one another.
Now this is radical right now, what you're doing. Yes. We spent the entire first half of this episode building Kai up, and now you're putting him in this light as some sort of pack rat.
I wouldn't say he's a pack rat, but he does have little tendencies. They aren't bad in any way.
No, of course not.
Except this one is more harmful to himself, because he's also lactose intolerant. And so sometimes he sees dairy products, such as cheese or bakery goods made with dairy, and he tends to pick at them and take little bites, knowing that he will suffer the consequences later.
Really what it is, I think, is a defense mechanism, and coupled with some curiosity, with a little dash of carpe diem to finish off the dish that is Kai Harvey. I don't think it comes from any sort of malice. No. Unless Kai is purposefully... Oh, Kai is building up a slow resistance.
I see.
Towards dairy by, over the course of his lifetime, taking a nibble of cheese there, a lick of yogurt there, and over time, in hopes, like a rattlesnake venom, he's hoping to build up an immunity to this defense mechanism that his body is unfortunately dawned upon him.
Kai being lactose intolerant is fairly important.
It's an important character trait for the most part. It's one of the few things that we can rag on Kai about. It's not even fair to necessarily. I mean, it's a medical condition. Honestly, we're the assholes for bringing this up in the first place.
As usual, sitting at our table, always getting a good view of Kai.
And that's a good view to get.
Radiant.
The Scandinavian tones of freshly untrodden snow. Or perhaps a cold glass of milk.
Yes, a cold glass of freshly juiced milk.
Freshly juiced? Do you know how milk is made?
You juice it from a cow. You juice it from a cow.
You don't juice it from a cow. Hold on, wait.
Yeah, what do you do? You juice it from a cow, buddy.
No, you don't. Wait, what do you do? What do you do to a cow to get...
Yeah, do you utter it from a cow?
You don't utter it. You don't speak it into existence. Do you extract it?
Nah, you juice it from a cow. But that's beside the point. I think, as the malignant person that I am, I take a good look at this radiant human in front of me.
This beautiful baby boy.
My mind is telling me that I need to mess with him. I am very easily bribed with money, I would say, and so I do tend to think that many others are easily bribed as well.
You could say you could say that you're quite miserly in that way.
Yes, I am fairly miserly.
Which I do believe would qualify for a word from Webster. The definition of miserly being like a miser, very covetous, sordid. Oh, I don't think I can say this last word. Let's just leave it at that. So someone who's really frugal, really cheap.
I would say I'm cheap. I wouldn't necessarily say frugal. I am a miser. So I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think being cheap is bad. I'm taking a good look at Kai. I'm like, there's no way he will be swayed by the grasp of the root of all evil, which is money. I think I offer him a fair amount of money in order to drink a certain concoction that I've made.
I'm well aware of this farce you pull on your friends.
I am fairly famous for the concoctions that I do create, much like a witch would in their cauldron.
Right.
I go up to every drink in the drink machine. Now, that's not too bad. I think all the sugars mixed together, they just become a sweet drink. Now, the worst part is knowing that Kai is lactose intolerant, I choose to put a swig of milk in there as well.
You're really busting his chops.
I'm fairly sure. I don't know if he remembers this. I'm fairly sure I also put half and half and whole cream in there. And so it's a whole mix that could have killed him.
For a lactose-free individual, that is about the most lactose that you can get. A half and half, a cream, that's a lot of lactose for someone who shouldn't be having any of it.
I go back to the
Bad
table.
behavior.
I've created this monstrosity. I tell Kai, drink this. I tell him that it has milk. So he knows there's lactose in there.
But as we've established, Kai does not shy away from his...
Kai does not shy away from milk. And so I give the drink to him, fully expecting him to reject the offer because, frankly, I know I wouldn't have taken it. I guess being who he is, he just wants me to have fun, knowing that I feel happy when I see people get tortured as such.
Kai's so nice, he's helping you hurt him. You, a miserly little mouse of a man,
and so,
an evil rodent poisoning your dear friend with the one thing he craves the most? How could you? This is the dictionary definition of betrayal.
I wouldn't necessarily say I betrayed him. I did tell him that there was lactose in the drink.
Yeah, but you took advantage of his weakness.
Unfortunately for him, I won't say unfortunately for me, I still got a blast out of it. He did take the bet.
You would say he did get a blast out of it.
He did get a blast out of it.
In a way.
He got a fairly big blast.
Oh boy.
And so there's me and Kai sitting across from each other. Maggie is sitting next to Kai and I'm sitting next to Eli. I place down the drink. I have the money in hand. I'm prepared to pay him if he drinks it.
Okay.
And he accepts. And so he grabs it. And I see the hesitation. I see his hand shaking. I know he's afraid of this drink.
I think any mortal man would be afraid of this drink, dairy-free or not.
And not only is the drink already beastly.
Wow.
Eli.
That's cool.
In a horrid act of cruelty, I don't even remember what it was, but he put something nasty in that drink.
Did Eli put some extra pepper or salt?
Yes.
Wow. That does seem like an Eli doing. Eli's,
Yes.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that at the very least by nighttime, his stomach won't be able to handle the lactose. Yet, I do nothing to stop him. And so he brings the cup to his mouth. I see him take a sniff, and you could see his little Adam's apple start to waver right here. The scent is affecting his taste buds. That's how horrid it is. The fateful moment comes when Kai takes a big gulp. He took a lot more than I had expected him to. I think he took a full mouthful. And I watched him swallow it all the way down.
Did you say how much you decided?
I'm pretty sure it was only like $10. I look at him. He's not saying anything, but he looks completely fine. And so I'm like, this guy is a legend. He has somehow conquered my poison. Iron throat, iron stomach. He's literally an Iron Man.
Okay.
I would say he has an iron will.
Wow. Iron will, cobalt stomach, tungsten tongue, and the esophagus? That's barium, my friend.
Oh. Regardless, the point is that Kai is akin to what I would say Hercules or Achilles at this very moment.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, very quickly, he descends. When he's sitting there, he's very quiet. I was wondering if he was okay. I'm looking at him. His eyes suddenly open wide. I see the old Adam's apple bob up and down again, and I know something's bad. Kai quickly covers his mouth with his hand, and then full force, like a fire truck, Kai starts to burst all over the table. It surpassed the barrier of his hand.
He covered his mouth with his hand, which, I mean, really, what else are you going to do? I guess you can hope that will stop it, but I think... I'm sorry. I'm thinking about him. I'm thinking about him vom. It's kind of funny, but... Dude, I'm sorry. Kai threw up at the C for C. It's just really funny. I'm sorry. Oh, God. Okay. Oh, God. No, I'm over it. I'm done. Okay, I'm fine. Whew. Is it hot in here?
You have to understand how appalled I was. Honestly, I wasn't appalled at all. I wasn't surprised that he threw up. But the fact that hand cover and suddenly, like nothing else that I've seen, the vomit burst through his hand like Alex on Bucephalus. It was that forceful.
It was like a jacuzzi water jet coming out from Kai's maw.
He was one jacuzzi bomb. His hand made it into 5.
It hurts more than it helps, the hand does. Because I think the hand just adds some added pressure and creates a Kai sprinkler at the time. Would you say that affected the area of effect of his spray?
Yes, it greatly increased the area of effect. The whole table.
Oh
and you have to imagine, this is a 4 foot, maybe 5 foot by 5 foot table.
Yeah.
Full of this acerbic, this disgusting acetic acid.
Yeah.
It's literally melting through.
This is near the end of lunch.
This was towards the end of our meal, so he had gotten his fill. I wouldn't even call it a puddle. I'd call it a sea of vomit. That's how much there was.
Enough.
I think in a fight or flight reaction, me and Eli simply decide to turn tail and run right out of the C4C. I was lucky. Somehow none of it had touched my plate. I'm pretty sure Eli's plate was sullied.
Oh. When Kai throws up on your lunch, that's a meal ender in my book.
I know for a fact Eli did not have an appetite after this.
At this point is when I walked up, converging with you and Eli, fleeing the scene of the crime, as it were. And I just remember... I just remember in a almost paternal act of bravery, Eli pulls me aside as I'm walking towards, almost to shield me from the horror, pulls me into a little bit of a huddle and says, You're not gonna like what's happening over there, and you're not gonna believe this, but Kai just threw up all over the table.
What kind of dog do you think would be running a dog and a mic?
I don't know. I guess I thought of it like a boxer, terrier, Malamute, Dane, husky, Bernard.
What?
Welcome to
Is that
a dog and a mic. I'm your host, a dog, and I finally found a mic.
What's going on?
But for now,
It's not
here's
stopping.
bringing you another story from the fragments of accidental space. We have something very wonderful in today's episode.
I don't know.
They have been floating for some time.
Bear, can you hear me?
Is anyone there?
Sent to
Bear?
casting down.
Hello?
Bear and Nico.
Bear.
Our Voyagers.
Bear?
Skim the sea of boundless dread. When might they sink, or where might they shore?
Yeah, Kai has been transformed in a way into this small creature that doesn't really want to be where he is anymore and is trying desperately in his mind to convince himself that he's not currently there. I do feel bad. I think I took a few steps toward the table before seeing.
Yeah.
It was absolutely covered. Like, you couldn't see the table anymore. The table was just, it wasn't spilling off the edges, which, gosh, what an unfortunate image we're having to paint here. Apologies for the topic this time, but just seeing the look on Kai's face of outward and inward complete shock and horror, I couldn't help but just burst out laughing. Now, the only other person there at that point, because keep in mind, you, in cowardice and in fear, as well as Eli, had both left.
You can't paint me in that light when you left as well.
All I'm saying is Maggie was the only person left trying in vain to help Kai. Clean up is a strong word. I would say deal with the situation, almost like reconcile.
Not even Kai was trying to clean it up because he was just so perturbed by what happened.
But just seeing this image of an inconsolable Kai and the biggest pile of vomit that I've ever seen in my life. Something that only a lactose intolerant man who just drank a quarter cup of cream could create. And I stood there for a while. And again, this is all a blur. It happened so fast. Just holding my plate, thinking, well, the other two, they are gone. And now fear's starting to set into me. Because I'm realizing I'm standing in the middle of this cafeteria with hundreds of people all around me. I think I set the food that I just got down on the table. I thought, it's already gone. And I didn't say a word to either of them. And I guess set out to look for you guys. Both of us had a similar reaction that I'm now coming to realize probably were equally bad.
We knew that it was bad from the very moment it happened, but it's now that we're talking about it, truly letting it off our chest, that I think the severity of the situation has dug even deeper.
I had no remorse or regret.
You were laughing for sure, yes.
And, I hate to say it, but I think it still is a little bit funny to me because standing out there with you guys in like the nice warm Colorado sun, having just eaten a full meal, and imagining Kai sitting inside a school cafeteria cleaning up. It just tickled my funny bone.
I have to admit, I think it was pretty funny. However, I did feel the slightest bit of remorse, not at the fact that I turned tail and run, because I know I'm a coward.
Yeah.
But I felt bad for making him throw up.
Yeah, okay. I earlier did say that we were almost on equal footing, but I actually think that's not the case because you're the source of Kai's suffering.
I would still argue that we are on equal footing. I didn't laugh in his face, turn and run. You have to imagine what Kai must have felt at that moment in time.
To be fair, I wasn't laughing at Kai. I was laughing at the situation Kai was in.
I honestly think that we're still assholes, where Kai was clearly the biggest loser.
That I am.
What? Kai?
How'd he get here?
Hello.
What's up, buddy?
I've been listening in.
How do you feel right now?
So, there are two sides to every story. In this case, there are like 5.
Right.
It's a pentagram of storytelling.
Now that's wicked.
I remember this day, I was going to say fondly, but can't say that that's the case. I was excited because some period of time, it felt almost as if there was this group of my friends that I was sort of the last member of. I was hearing all these exciting stories, hijinks and shenanigans, and just because of the way that things worked at the time, I couldn't partake in a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was excited when I got the opportunity to go to the C4C with my good friends. Now, I do remember this is the first slight deviation. Bear essentially covered for me, and the agreement was that I would pay him back. And I was happy to do that. I remember I was especially fond of the Asian section, the Asian Shi Pin, as it's called. And I don't remember exactly what it was. I want to say that it was like General Tso's chicken or something that was being served that day.
Sorry. That's about the worst food to throw up, I imagine.
Oh, it may have been that. It may have been something else. Something from the Asian section.
Maybe
that
it's
was
general.
For a while, kind of.
Oh, I was gonna say maybe it's General. Maybe it's General Zhao. Maybe it's General Mao. Whatever the case, it's on the floor.
Two things that I loved about the C4C. One, as someone who is lactose intolerant, has been since about 7th grade, they have the A7 program, basically identifying the 7 major allergens, which is like wheat, gluten, milk, soy, fish, shellfish, nuts, peanuts, eggs.
You can also tell based on that what things you could maybe pick your poison on. A little nibble of this, a little nibble of that.
If perhaps there happens to be a tempura pork that is listed with dairy, I will know, it's really tempting. Maybe I'll have one nugget and then realize, oh wait, the tempura pork here isn't very good. And then just forgetting about it. I haven't in a long time. That is the mentality. A little bit won't hurt. It always does. I've gotten a lot better.
That's good.
The theory is, and we haven't had any doctors prove this, but the theory is that I'm also just straight up allergic to like milk, to dairy protein.
That sounds really bad, especially with when you carry this levity around with you about what you choose to eat. But please continue.
So most people, they'll drink a glass of milk and then, a few minutes later or an hour later or something, they'll get like a little farty. What will happen to me is I'll eat something usually unknowingly that's
or at least that's what you claim.
Or or admittedly sometimes it's a
self-inflicted.
It's a willing ignorance or willing negligence.
I just am imagining this entire time speaking to us, Kai has a little block of Gruyere that he's taking a little piece off one at a time, popping it into his cheek.
history is written by the winners. I don't know who the winner is yet. I do know better than to just straight up eat cheese.
What a disaster that would be, right?
The other thing that was so great about the C4C, in between the smoke and grill and the sushi section, there were two large dispensers of, one was almond milk and the other was soy milk. I like soy milk quite a bit, despite the controversy about it containing estrogen, which isn't actually a real thing.
But Luna bars still do, right?
Probably.
And you ate Luna bars for how many years, Kai?
I think about a year. I think it was...
It was more than a year, dude. It was like, you ate Luna bars for 3 years.
I don't think it was that long. It was on and off between Luna bars and some other brands.
Some other brand of female targeted bar.
I never knew that it was actually like for women.
He didn't know until I told him.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with eating a Luna bar. They tasted pretty good.
I think it was Kevin who first said, like, oh, Luna bars are for women, and I thought he was like joking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't joking. I was
like, oh, that's sexist, or I said like some like passing remark.
To be fair, it probably is sexist in some way.
To be pretty much everything we say is most likely sexist.
I mean, yeah, that's more of a comment on American capitalism and marketing,
right.
But irregardless.
Ooh.
That's my dictionary word for the day. One that doesn't exist. Soy milk tastes very good. And so I would always get a full glass of it.
That's a weird way to... It sounds like something that was mal-translated from a foreign language.
Yeah.
Soy, what did you say? You said soy milk is very...
Soy milk is very good, and that's why I always get a full glass of it. That is a little grammatically awkward. Irregardless, Eli had gone to the fountain and he had gotten a drink. This was sort of the catalyst. Eli's drink. It was very weird.
Much like Eli himself, Eli's drink was very weird.
It was really watery and sort of had a weird taste to it. And so he took my milk, took Eli's drink, he poured it into my milk. There's some third drink that he also added in. And he said to me, if you're able to drink this, then you won't have to pay me back. There was no dairy. Looking around, he grabbed off of the table the pepper shaker. He just tap, a few little sprinkles, which struck me as odd because I wouldn't have thought to do that.
Not everyone thinks the same way as a genius, Kai.
So I thought, yeah, I can get that down. I braced myself and I took a pretty big glug. I remember it being pretty bad and I felt fine. And I believe I took a second sip when I felt that something was amiss. I'm going to throw up. I haven't thrown up in public a lot of times.
Okay, good.
I can only think of two situations where that's happened. And I think in both situations, one, I didn't realize that I was going to throw up until it was too late. And two, once it was happening, my first instinct was to cover my mouth.
Okay. We don't have to get into it, but can you just tell us the location of the other incident?
Yes. Oh, man. It is a really good story, but I guess the location was in a movie theater. While my father, my brother, and I were watching Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And it was... we had...
It's just such a tickly bone for me.
I don't know if the entirety of what I ate exited me, but I would not be surprised if it did. It was on the tray, and I was just sort of sitting there in the state of, I don't know what to do. The next thing I remember, Eli and Kevin getting up and walking the hell away with their trays.
A little bit of resentment there.
Well, yeah. Had I not just exploded, had I not just, chucked onto my plate, it would have been a pretty appropriate time to get up. Maggie was there. I do remember she was the only one who was sort of at my side. I don't remember if she actually physically did anything, but the emotional support went a long way of not standing up and walking away. I was grabbing napkins. I remember the napkins. There were napkin dispensers at every table, so I guess these shitty thin brown napkins, completely ineffective. Not trying to absorb the vomit because I knew that was a fool's errand, but trying to sort of contain it into a single mass. I'm imagining now like a paper mache volcano.
Oh, no.
I think Maggie got up before I did, and I was sort of left to clean it up a little bit more. So at the C4C, there'll be someone who comes around and with like a spray bottle and a cloth, and it'll just wipe down the tables. Oftentimes, they'll wipe down the same table that you're sitting at, and you have to sort of awkwardly not make eye contact. One of those people, they were making their rounds.
Except I can't imagine that a spray down and a wipe would suffice.
I don't think that much actually got on the table.
It may have been a little bit of imaginative storytelling on my part.
Yeah, I appreciate the dramatization.
I think it was that high stakes in my mind. It was everywhere.
Any throw up is too much throw up.
Yes.
Eventually I got up. I imagine that the cleanup person was hot on my tail. That was my point of guilt, was getting up and leaving them to clean up after my mess. In the end, what could I do?
How did you feel? Like, did you have any ill will towards us at the time? Like,
I actually was surprisingly calm about the whole affair.
So would you say that it was like humorous in a way?
Definitely in hindsight, it was very funny.
Yes.
In the moment, less so.
We should focus on the point that this should not detract from me, Eli, and Nicholas being a bunch of terrible friends in the moment.
I was annoyed. I was thinking, well, what? They just left.
I stand by it. I'd do it again.
Wow.
I'm sorry. That's my truth.
I think
I'd abandon my friends in their greatest time of need. And I do that because I'm an asshole and a coward. And I have a black heart and a cold brain and a tiny dick. And that's me.
I don't know about that last part, but...
Nice to meet you.
Continue, Kai.
I think I do remember you had gone off and you were actually at the dessert section.
Cookie.
What made all of this okay, in my mind, was Bear turned to me and he said, "I'm not making you pay for this."
I know I said that for sure.
Bear, you often have moments of clarity after an ordeal where you behave so poorly that you have nearly no choice but to try and redeem yourself with a grand gesture. Not so grand in this case if it's $7.
Yeah. Which was fantastic because
you knew you caused
it. I think part of what had been going through my mind was, not only the unpleasantness of throwing up on the table, but the fact that, that meant that I had failed. I hadn't fulfilled my end of the bargain because I wasn't able to get through it.
I'm not that terrible.
This too shall pass.
And that's really all we can take from a situation like that. It's just to take it in stride.
Everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Nothing's going to make it better, but there are some things that at least won't make it worse.
Anyways, we're going to play Bingo Party now. It's a game where we guess when
Kai, I don't want to paint myself in a better light, but I do apologize for feeding you such a disgusting concoction of whatever drinks there were in there. I guess thank you for coming on and telling us your perspective of this horrendous story that ultimately I think you were the main character in.
Thank you.
And I have plenty to be ashamed for, but I take no prejudice against myself, and I take no actions in apology towards you or...
Say sorry right now. Say sorry right now. Apologize to Kai.
Hello?
Say it. Say it.
I don't think he's there anymore.
No, he's Kai, tell him you're there.
I'm here.
Just apologize.
I'm here too, Kai.
Apologize to Kai for what you've done.
Kai, you know, there's a lot of...
You little dipshit. Just say sorry.
I think there's a lot of...
Say...
evil...
There's 2 words. Fucking
Waiting at
say
the crossroads.
Say... Repeat after me. Repeat after me. Repeat after me.
Repeat after me. I'm...
Sorry.
I'm Shawi.
I'll take it.
There we go. That's all we needed to hear.
I'm not Shawi anymore.
Thank you. Thank you
I don't
for having me on.
Let me say this. I don't apologize for what happened that day, but I apologize for every other day of my life. I'm sorry, Kai.
Thank you. That means more to me than it should. Irregardless.
Have a good night, Kai.
Thanks.
You and me, lost and found, a hope, a dream, or a curse. We are one.